Business Insider has a terrifying report for us on the state of the economy. They explain Deutsche Bank's chief international economist. Hey, by the way, is it Deutsch or Deutsche? I've heard people say it both ways. Whatever. Their chief international economist, Torsten Sløk, I know I'm mispronouncing that, sent around a chart in a recent note to clients showing the share of U.S. household wealth by income level. Notably, listen to this fact, the top 1% of households now hold about the same amount of wealth as the bottom 90%. Let me repeat that because I know the first time I read it, it was literally unbelievable. The top 0.1% of households now hold about the same amount of wealth as the bottom 90%. So let's understand that. It's not the top 5% of households that have about the same amount of wealth as the bottom 90%. It's not top 5%, which, by the way, would still be fucking bonkers. It's not the top 1% of households that has the same amount of wealth as the bottom 90%. It's the top 0.1% of households that has the same amount of wealth as the bottom 90%. Hey guys, those people didn't just work harder than you. See, this is where I start to go fucking nuts and get angry at people if they try to bring up the meritocracy argument in the context of these facts. Because that's just bullshit. It's just not true that those 0.1% of people, they work so much harder than everybody in the fucking country that they deserve to have the same amount as the bottom 90%. 0.1%, same amount as the bottom 90%. They didn't just work harder. That's not a system based on merit. That's not a fair competition. That's a game being grotesquely rigged. By the way, you want some more economic facts? These will blow your mind, because every time I fucking think of them, they blow my mind. 50% of Americans, 50%, half of Americans make $30,000 a year or less. What? 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Now, let's broaden out. Let's not just talk about the United States of America. Let's talk about the world. The richest 62 people have more wealth than the bottom 3.5 billion. Again, stop, think about that. Half the world, 62 people have more than half of the goddamn world. Okay, you cannot get to this point without corruption. You cannot get to this point without nepotism. You cannot get to this point without inherited wealth. Hey, by the way, this is why an estate tax is just the most obvious, reasonable tax ever. You tax dead people with estates. And by the way, their kids are still going to be massively, massively rich. But you just make it so that they're not rich enough to fucking totally buy a democracy and buy the goddamn world. Don't you want to prevent the Paris Hiltons from having enough money to literally corrupt a democracy, corrupt a country? I'm fine with her being passed down millions of dollars to be financially secure for her life. But it shouldn't be, oh, somebody dies and they were worth $3 billion, so the kid gets fucking $2 billion. That is insanity. So, look, man, this is all happening while, I mean, you guys, we don't even need to bring it up, but the amount of extreme poverty in the world is off the fucking charts. Again, when you narrow it down to just the United States, you're talking about 45,000 people that die every year because they don't have access to basic health care. 45,000 people. I mean, you have hundreds of thousands of homeless people. And again, let me repeat. 0.1%, the top 0.1% of households now hold about the same amount of wealth as the bottom 90%. Hey guys, you know what follows after numbers like this? Gigantic economic crashes. So this isn't just a thing that's like, okay, no, we should do it because it's good for the middle class and it's good for the poor. We should fix that because it's good for the middle class and the poor. No, it's a thing because it's also good for the rich. Some of them might not get it, and they might be bullheaded in their approach in the opposite direction here. But when you have this extreme level of inequality, you know what the result is? The peasant class can no longer afford to buy the goods that are made by the so-called captains of industry. So the bubble bursts. And then you get fucking significantly poorer also. I mean, Great Depression. We had income inequality levels this high right before the crash in the Great Depression. And we're right back to that point. That is unsustainable. Do you understand that? Now, on the flip side, when you had a more equal distribution of wealth, and when I say equal, I don't mean like everybody has exactly the same. Of course not. There's still levels of income inequality. There's still rich people. There's still poor people. Yada, yada. So, but when you had just a system that wasn't this grotesquely uneven and unequal, well, then you had the most stable economy the United States of America has ever seen. The golden age of economic expansion, they called it. That's when unions were strong, you know. So that's when money didn't corrupt politics nearly as much as it does now. That really started happening the way it is right now in the late 70s. So, but this is what needs to be fixed. It has to be fixed. I mean, we need to set up a universal healthcare system. We need to set up a universal education system. We have a student loan debt crisis, which is going to fucking explode. We have a derivatives crisis, which is going to explode and crash the system. And a student loan debt crisis. And just a debt crisis. So all these things, I mean, the bubble can pop in so many ways. Even the subprime mortgage bubble can pop again because it was just reinflated. It wasn't like the fundamental underlying problems were fixed. We need to re-regulate Wall Street. We need to do universal healthcare. We need to do universal education. We need to have a living wage as a minimum wage. We need to increase unionization to make the middle class in the United States of America strong. Guys, none of these are radical proposals. In fact, if you disagree with them, it's radical. The system we have right now is as radical as it gets. When you have 0.1% of people with the same amount of wealth as 90% of the country. Oh, God damn it. Half the country, 50% making $30,000 a year or less. It's gonna crash. Iceberg dead ahead. You have to fix these underlying problems. You have to make the system better. Because if you don't, it is fundamentally unstable. And obviously, based on the numbers here, it's also just flat out immoral.